Now look at this. You spent decades building a life, raising kids, helping friends, staying loyal. But somewhere after 60, something shifts. Calls slow down. Favors feel one-sided. And then one quiet moment hits you. If something happened today, who would show up? The answer isn't always who you think. Let's talk about the silent truth that sneaks up on all of us. Last week, I got a call from my friend Martha. She's 67, raised 3 kids, helped them through college, was there for every birthday, every crisis, every celebration. You know the type, the mom who never said no. But here's what shocked me. When Martha had her medical emergency, and I'm talking about the kind where you need help right now, guess who showed up? Not her kids. They were too busy. Not her siblings. They had their own problems. The person who drove her to the hospital at 2 a.m.? Her neighbor. Someone she'd only known for 3 years. And that got me thinking, what if everything we've been told about family support after 60 is completely wrong? Today, I'm going to share 6 shocking truths about who really has your back when you need it most. And I've got to warn you, some of these might make you uncomfortable. But by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to build a support system that won't let you down. Because here's what nobody talks about. When was the last time your adult children called you just to check in? Not because they needed something. Not because it was a holiday. Just because they wanted to hear your voice? If you're struggling to remember, you're not alone. Here's what's happening that nobody wants to admit. We've been sold this story our whole lives. Work hard, raise your kids right, be there for your family, and when you need help, they'll be there for you. It's the American dream, right? Wrong. And I'm not saying this to hurt your feelings or make you angry at your family. I'm saying it because understanding reality is the first step to protecting yourself. And here's the kicker. It's not because these families don't love each other. It's because life has gotten complicated in ways our generation never imagined. Your kids are dealing with student loan debt we never had, housing costs that are 3 times what we paid, 2 career households just to survive, raising their own kids in a world that feels scary and uncertain. They're not being selfish. They're drowning. And while you're waiting for them to throw you a life preserver, you might just go under yourself. But here's what I discovered that changed everything. The people who are thriving after 60, I'm talking about those who seem happy, secure, and genuinely at peace. They all have something in common. They stopped depending on other people to take care of them. Instead, they built what I call the 6 pillars of unshakable support. And before you roll your eyes and think this is some self-help nonsense, let me tell you about Eleanor. Eleanor is 72 years old. Last month, she went skydiving. Yes, skydiving. 5 years ago, Eleanor was exactly where you might be right now. Worried about the future, feeling like her family was drifting away, scared of being a burden. Today, she has more friends than most 30-year-olds. She travels whenever she wants. And when she does need help, she has a network of people who are genuinely excited to be there for her. What changed? She discovered these 6 pillars, and I'm going to share them with you. But first, if you're still with me, type "ready" in the comments. I want to know you're serious about this. Because what I'm about to share isn't just information, it's a complete mindset shift. And mindset shifts? They only work if you're ready to do the work. Pillar 1, your financial fortress. Let's talk about something that makes everyone uncomfortable, but that we absolutely have to discuss. Money. Now, before you click away thinking this is about getting rich quick or some investment scheme, stop. This isn't about becoming wealthy. This is about becoming unshakable. Let me tell you about my Uncle Frank. Frank worked his whole life as a mechanic. Never made big money, but he was the guy everyone called when they needed help. Fixed cars for free. Lent money when people were short. Always said, family takes care of family. When Frank turned 68, his transmission shop closed down. Small family businesses couldn't compete with the big chains. Suddenly, Frank's income dropped to almost nothing. Guess what happened when Frank needed help? His nephew, who Frank had helped buy his first car, said he was tight on cash. His brother, who Frank had lent $5,000 to start a business, said he'd help when he could. His own son, who Frank had put through trade school, said he'd see what he could do. Frank spent 2 years struggling, stressed, and feeling betrayed by everyone he'd helped. But here's what Frank learned, and what I want you to understand right now. The most reliable person in your life is you with money in the bank. I know that sounds harsh. I know it sounds like I'm saying money is more important than relationships. I'm not. I'm saying that financial independence gives you something priceless: choice. When you have financial stability, you don't have to ask your kids for help and resent them when they can't give it. You don't have to accept living situations that make you unhappy. You don't have to worry about being a burden. You can be generous when you want to be, not because you have to be. Now, I'm not talking about having millions in the bank. I'm talking about having enough to handle life's curveballs without panicking. Here's what that actually looks like. I like to call it the 3-layer security system. Layer 1, emergency buffer, which is 6 months of living expenses in a savings account. Yes, I know interest rates are terrible. I don't care. This isn't an investment, it's insurance. Why 6 months? Because that's enough time to figure out your next move without making desperate decisions. Layer 2, predictable income. This could be Social Security, a pension, rental income, or dividends from investments. The key word is predictable. You need to know that a certain amount is coming in every month, no matter what. Layer 3, growth protection. Some money invested in things that historically keep up with inflation. I'm not giving investment advice. Talk to a professional. But having some money growing while you sleep means you're not going backwards. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Easy for you to say. I don't have money to save. Listen, I get it. Maybe you're starting from zero. Maybe you've had setbacks. Maybe you made financial mistakes you're still paying for. Here's the truth. It's not about where you start. It's about starting. Remember Eleanor, the 72-year-old skydiver? When she started building her financial pillar 5 years ago, she had $847 in savings. That's it. Today, she's not rich. But she has enough. Enough to not worry about the electric bill. Enough to help her granddaughter with college without asking anyone's permission. Enough to say no to things she doesn't want to do. But here's what really matters about Eleanor's story. The money wasn't the real prize. The real prize was confidence. The security. The ability to look at her children and grandchildren with love instead of fear. You get to be yourself. Fully. Without apology. Now, financial stability is crucial. But there's something even more important that most people completely ignore until it's too late. It's something that can't be bought, can't be inherited, and can't be given to you by anyone else. And when you lose it, everything else becomes meaningless. Pillar 2, your body as your best friend. Let's talk about something nobody wants to face, but everyone needs to hear. Your body after 60 isn't the same as your body at 30. I know, shocking revelation, right? But here's what might actually shock you. Most of the aging problems you're worried about, they're not inevitable. They're choices. I'm going to say something that might make you uncomfortable, but I need you to hear it. Every day you don't take care of your body is a day you're making yourself more dependent on other people. Let me tell you about 2 women I know. Both are 71. Both live in the same town. Both have loving families. First is Carol. Carol stopped exercising when she retired. I worked hard all my life, she said. Now it's time to relax. She spends most days watching TV, eating whatever's convenient. Today, Carol needs help getting up from chairs. She can't drive at night because her vision is getting worse. She's on 6 different medications. Her daughter comes over 3 times a week to help with groceries and cleaning. Carol loves her daughter, but she also resents needing her. And her daughter? She loves her mom, but she's exhausted. Now let's talk about Margaret. Margaret decided that retirement meant freedom to focus on her health for the first time in decades. She started walking, then hiking, then she joined a senior fitness class. Today, Margaret just got back from a 2-week trip to Scotland. By herself. She volunteers at 3 different organizations. She babysits her grandkids, not because her daughter needs help, but because she enjoys it. Same age, same starting point, completely different lives. The difference? Margaret understood something that Carol didn't. Your health isn't something that happens to you. It's something you do. Here's the myth we've all been told. Getting old means getting sick, weak, and dependent. It's just natural. Bullshit. Yes, aging is real. But most of what we call aging is actually not moving. Here's what actually happens when you stop being active. Week 1 to 2. Your muscles start getting weaker month 1. Your balance starts to decline. Month 3. Your bone density begins dropping year 1. Simple tasks become difficult year 2. You start needing help with things you used to do easily. But here's the amazing part. This process is reversible at any age. Remember Frank, my uncle who had financial struggles? Well, Frank's story didn't end there. After his money problems forced him to make changes, Frank also decided to get his health back. He was 70 years old, overweight, and hadn't exercised in decades. Frank started with 5 minutes of walking. That's it. 5 minutes. 6 months later, Frank was walking for an hour every day. 1 year later, Frank had lost 40 pounds and was sleeping better than he had in years. 2 years later, Frank was leading hiking groups for seniors. Today, at 75, Frank has more energy than most 50-year-olds I know. Now, I'm not saying you need to become a fitness influencer. I'm saying you need to become someone who can live independently. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. I have arthritis. Exercise helps arthritis. I have bad knees. The right exercise strengthens the muscles around your knees. I'm too old to start. The best time to start was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. I don't have time. You don't have time not to do this. Here's how to begin, even if you haven't exercised in years. Week 1. The chair test. Sit in a chair. Stand up. Sit down. Do this 10 times. If you can't do 10, do 5. If you can't do 5, do 1. Week 2. The walk. Walk to your mailbox and back. If that's easy, walk to the corner. If that's easy, walk around the block. Week 3. The stretch. Spend 10 minutes stretching while watching TV. Your body needs flexibility as much as it needs strength. Week 4. The balance game. Stand on one foot while brushing your teeth. Hold onto the counter if you need to. Work up to doing it without holding on. I'm not promising you'll look 30 again. I'm not promising you'll never get sick. I'm promising that if you take care of your body will take care of you. And here's the beautiful part. When you're physically strong and independent, your relationships with your family get better. You're not asking for help, you're offering it. You're not a burden, you're a blessing. Now, we've talked about financial security and physical health. But there's a third pillar that might be even more important. It's something that can make the difference between feeling isolated and feeling connected, between being lonely and being loved. And it's something that most people accidentally destroy right when they need it most. If you're finding this helpful, give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. I've got a lot more wisdom to share with you. Pillar 3, your chosen family. Let me ask you something personal. When you think about the people who truly understand you, I mean really get you, how many of them are related to you by blood? If you're like most people over 60, the answer might surprise you. Here's what happens to most of us as we age. We put all our social eggs in the family basket. We assume that our children, our siblings, our relatives will be our social lifeline. Then reality hits. Your kids get busy with their own lives. Your siblings move away or develop health problems. Family gatherings become less frequent, more strained, more obligatory. And suddenly, you realize you're lonelier than you've ever been in your life. Let me tell you about Dorothy. She's 78, lives in Cleveland, and has more friends than most people half her age. But 5 years ago, Dorothy was exactly where many of you might be today. Dorothy had raised 4 children. She'd been married for 45 years before her husband passed. She'd always been the center of family gatherings, the one everyone called with their problems. After her husband died, Dorothy waited for her children to step up, to call more often, to include her in their lives. Some days, her phone didn't ring at all. Dorothy felt invisible, forgotten, like her best days were behind her. That's when Dorothy made a decision that changed everything. She decided to build a new family, a chosen family. Now, when I say chosen family, I don't mean replacing your real family. I mean supplementing them with people who choose to be in your life because they genuinely want to be there. Think about it. Your biological family has to love you. It's kind of their job, right? But your chosen family? They're there because they find you interesting, funny, wise, or just plain enjoyable to be around. There's something incredibly powerful about being wanted, not just needed. Here's what Dorothy did. Step 1. She got curious about others. Instead of waiting for people to reach out to her, Dorothy started reaching out to others. Not in a needy way, in a genuinely interested way. She started asking people about their lives, their interests, their stories. And here's what she discovered. Most people are starving for someone who actually listens to them. Step 2. She shared her gifts. Dorothy had always been an amazing cook. Instead of just cooking for herself or waiting for family occasions, she started bringing food to neighbors, to people at church, to anyone who looked like they needed a good meal. Food became her love language, and people started associating Dorothy with comfort, warmth, and generosity. Step 3. She became a regular. Dorothy found places where she could show up consistently. a coffee shop where she went every Tuesday morning, a library book club that met every other week, a volunteer opportunity every Saturday. She became a familiar face, someone people expected to see and missed when she wasn't there. Within 6 months, Dorothy's life was completely different. She had coffee friends who saved her a seat at their favorite table. She had book club friends who called her during the week to discuss chapters. She had volunteer friends who carpooled with her to events. She had neighbor friends who checked on her during snowstorms and invited her to backyard barbecues. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. That's great for Dorothy, but I'm not good with people, or I don't know how to make friends at my age. Let me give you the real secret to building your chosen family. It's not about being the most interested person in the room. It's about being the most interesting. I know this can feel scary. What if people reject you? What if you're awkward? What if you don't fit in? Here's the truth. Everyone over 60 is dealing with some version of loneliness. When you reach out to others, you're not being needy. You're being helpful. You're giving them what they need too, connection. But the real payoff isn't just having people around. It's becoming the kind of person that people want to be around. When you're actively building connections, you become more interesting, more engaged with life, more positive. You stop being someone who only talks about health problems and family complaints. You become someone with stories, opinions, adventures. You transform from someone who needs entertainment to someone who provides it. But there's a fourth pillar that might be the most important of all. It's something that can make you feel valuable and needed even when everything else in your life is changing. It's your reason for getting up in the morning. Your sense that you still have something important to contribute to this world. And if you've been feeling like your best days are behind you, what I'm about to share could change everything. Before we continue, I want to hear from you. In the comments, tell me about one person in your life who chose to be there, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Someone who makes you feel valued just for being you. Your stories inspire me, and they inspire other viewers too. Pillar 4. Your reason for living. Let me tell you about the most dangerous question you can ask yourself after 60. What's the point? Here's what happens to too many seniors. They retire from their job and think they're retiring from life. Their kids grow up and move away, and they think their job as a parent is over. Their energy isn't what it used to be, so they think their time for making a difference has passed. They start existing instead of living. And that, my friend, is a tragedy. Because the truth is, you may be entering the most important phase of your life. The phase where you finally have the freedom to pursue what truly matters to you. Let me tell you about Walter. Walter worked for 42 years as an accountant. Good job, steady paycheck, provided for his family. But Walter always felt like he was built for something more creative, something more meaningful. When Walter retired at 65, he did what most people do. He relaxed, watched TV, played some golf, read the newspaper. For about 6 months, it felt great. Then it felt boring. Then it felt depressing. Walter started feeling like his life was over. Like he was just waiting around to die. His wife was worried. His kids were concerned. Walter was becoming someone nobody wanted to be around, including himself. That's when Walter's granddaughter asked him to help with a school project about World War II. Walter's father had fought in that war, and Walter had grown up hearing stories. As he helped his granddaughter research, something sparked in Walter. He realized he knew things, important things, that were in danger of being forgotten. Walter started volunteering at the local historical society. Then he started giving talks at schools about what life was like in the 1950s and 60s. Then he started writing down the stories his father had told him. Then he started a blog that now has thousands of readers. Today, at 73, Walter is busier and happier than he's been in decades. He has a waiting list of schools that want him to speak. He's working on his second book. He's being interviewed for a documentary. Walter didn't just find a hobby. He found his purpose. And here's what's beautiful about Walter's story. His purpose wasn't something new. It was something that had always been inside him, waiting for the right time to emerge. See, here's what I've learned about purpose after 60. It's not about starting over. It's about uncovering what was always there. All those years you spent raising kids, working jobs, taking care of other people, you were developing skills, gaining wisdom, learning lessons that only come with experience. Now it's time to use all of that. Your purpose is inbuilt. It's using what you're good at to solve problems you care about in ways that excite you. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. I'm too old to start something new. Gandhi was 61 when he started his most important work. Laura Ingalls Wilder didn't publish her first Little House book until she was 65. Colonel Sanders was 62 when he started KFC. I don't have the energy I used to have. You don't need the energy of a 30-year-old. You need the energy that comes from doing something meaningful. Purpose is energizing. I don't have special talents. You don't need special talents. You need life experience, wisdom, and the desire to make a difference. Those are things that only come with age. But here's the real magic of having purpose after 60. It changes how people see you. Instead of seeing someone who's winding down, they see someone who's fired up. Instead of seeing someone who needs help, they see someone who provides value. Your family stops worrying about you and starts being proud of you. Your friends stop feeling sorry for you and start being inspired by you. You stop being someone who talks about the past and become someone who's building the future. Now, we've covered 4 of the 6 pillars: financial security, physical health, chosen family, and purpose. But there are 2 more pillars that are absolutely crucial. And these next 2 might be the hardest to develop, but they're also the most powerful. The 5th pillar is something that can carry you through any crisis, any loss, any disappointment life throws at you. It's an inner strength that no one can take away from you. And what I'm about to tell you about building this strength might challenge everything you think you know about dealing with difficult emotions. If this is resonating with you, let me know in the comments. Tell me, what's one thing you've always wanted to do but thought you were too old for? I bet you're not as old as you think you are for that dream. Pillar 5, your emotional fortress. Let me ask you something that might be uncomfortable. When was the last time you cried? Not because you were watching a sad movie or remembering something beautiful. I mean, really cried about your own life, your own fears, your own losses. Here's what I've noticed about people our age. We've gotten really good at pretending everything is fine. We smile when we're lonely. We say we're doing well when we're struggling. We act like we've got it all figured out when inside we're sometimes scared, confused, or heartbroken. And we do this because we think it's what strong people do. We think emotional strength means not having emotions. But I'm going to tell you something that might surprise you. The strongest people I know over 60 aren't the ones who never break down. They're the ones who know how to put themselves back together. Let me tell you about Ruth. Ruth lost her husband of 52 years on a Tuesday morning in March. Heart attack. No warning. One day they were planning their spring garden. The next day, she was planning his funeral. Ruth's family rallied around her. Her children took time off work. Her neighbors brought casseroles. Everyone kept telling her how strong she was being. But Ruth didn't feel strong. She felt shattered. For months, Ruth put on a brave face during the day and fell apart at night. She thought this was normal. She thought grief was something you were supposed to get over. Then Ruth met Helen at a grief support group. Helen had lost her husband 3 years earlier, and she said something that changed Ruth's life. Grief isn't something you get over. It's something you get through. And the only way through is to feel it fully. Helen taught Ruth something crucial. Emotional strength isn't about avoiding difficult feelings. It's about learning to sit with them, understand them, and let them move through you without being destroyed by them. Ruth started what she called her emotional workouts. Just like physical exercise, she practiced strengthening her emotional muscles. Here's what Ruth learned about building emotional resilience. The daily check-in. Every morning, Ruth asked herself, how am I really feeling today? Not how she was supposed to feel, not how she wanted others to think she felt, but how she actually felt. Sad. She acknowledged it. Angry. She owned it. Lonely. She admitted it. Grateful. She celebrated it. The feeling journal. Ruth started writing down her emotions, not just the events of her day, but how those events made her feel. She discovered patterns. She realized that certain times of day were harder. Those certain activities brought comfort. Those certain thoughts triggered spirals. Knowledge became power. The comfort toolkit. Ruth created a list of things that genuinely made her feel better. Not things that distracted her from her feelings, but things that helped her process them, like walking in nature, listening to music that matched her mood, calling one specific friend who was a good listener, taking a long, hot bath, looking through photo albums, doing something creative with her hands. 6 months later, Ruth was a different person. Not because she got over her grief, but because she learned to carry it with grace. Ruth could talk about her husband without falling apart. She could be alone without being consumed by loneliness. She could feel sad without feeling hopeless. And here's what amazed everyone. Ruth became the person other people came to when they were struggling, not because she had all the answers, but because she wasn't afraid of difficult emotions. Ruth had developed what I call emotional courage, the ability to face whatever feelings come up without running away from them. See, here's what most people don't understand about emotions after 60. You're going to face loss. It's inevitable. Friends will pass away. Family members will get sick. Your own body will change. Plans will fall through. The question isn't whether you'll face difficult emotions. The question is whether you'll have the tools to handle them. Let me be specific about what we're dealing with. Regret. I should have done things differently. Fear. What if I become a burden? What if I get sick? What if I run out of money? Loneliness. Everyone is too busy for me. Irrelevance. The world has moved on without me. Mortality. I have more years behind me than ahead of me. These are real feelings. Valid feelings. And pretending they don't exist doesn't make you strong. It makes you fragile. Every emotion has something to teach you. Sadness teaches you what you've lost and valued. Anger teaches you what boundaries have been crossed. Fear teaches you what you need to protect or prepare for. Joy teaches you what brings meaning to your life. Now, I know some of you are dealing with really heavy stuff. Depression that won't lift. Anxiety that keeps you awake at night. Grief that feels like it's swallowing you whole. I'm not saying you should handle this alone. Professional help is sometimes necessary and always okay to seek. But even with professional support, you need personal emotional skills. You need to know how to be your own emotional first responder. Because here's something beautiful about emotional strength after 60. When you've learned to handle your own difficult emotions, you become incredibly valuable to others. Young people facing their first major losses come to you because you've been there. Friends going through transitions seek your advice because you've navigated change. Family members dealing with crises turn to you because you radiate calm confidence. You become not just emotionally strong, you become emotionally useful. Now, we've covered 5 of the 6 pillars. And if you master these 5, you'll be more secure and resilient than 90% of people your age. But there's one final pillar that ties everything together. It's the difference between surviving your later years and thriving in them. It's about staying flexible when the world keeps changing. It's about remaining curious when others become set in their ways. It's about seeing opportunities where others see only obstacles. And mastering this final pillar might be the secret to not just aging well, but aging with excitement about what comes next. Before we get to that final pillar, I want to know, what's one emotion you've been avoiding or trying to get over? Sometimes just admitting it in the comments can be the first step toward dealing with it properly. Pillar 6, your adaptability advantage. Here's something that might shock you. The most successful, happiest people over 60 aren't the ones with the most money, the best health, or even the biggest families. They're the ones who are the best at rolling with the punches. We've all heard the phrase, set in their ways. It's usually said about older people, and it's usually meant as an insult. But here's what I want you to understand. Being adaptable after 60 isn't just helpful, it's your secret weapon. While younger people are stressed about career changes and raising kids, you have something they don't. The wisdom to know that everything changes and the experience to know you can handle it. Here's why adaptability is such a superpower after 60. You've already lived through massive changes. You've seen technology evolve, society transform, economies boom and bust. You know that the way things are isn't permanent. Young people resist change because they're building something. You know the difference between problems and inconveniences, between tragedies and disappointments, between what matters and what doesn't. Here's what happens when you develop adaptability. Immediately, you feel less stressed about uncertainty. You start seeing possibilities instead of just problems. You become someone others admire for your resilience. You discover that every stage of life has unique gifts. Let me leave you with some final thoughts that could change everything. What if your 60s, 70s, and 80s aren't the ending of your story? What if they're the climax? Think about it this way. In your 20s and 30s, you were figuring things out. In your 40s and 50s, you were building things up. But now you have something that younger people don't have. Clarity about what matters. Freedom from other people's expectations. Permission to be completely yourself. The wisdom that comes from decades of experience. This isn't the time to slow down and fade away. This is the time to shine brighter than ever. You have a choice to make right now. You can spend the rest of your life waiting for other people to take care of you, to include you, to make you happy. Or you can build these 6 pillars and become the kind of person who takes care of others, who includes others, who creates happiness wherever they go. You will never feel powerless again. You will never feel invisible again. You will never feel like a burden again. Instead, you'll feel what Sam feels, what Eleanor feels, what Ruth feels, what Dorothy feels. You'll feel alive, valuable, excited about tomorrow. So here's what I want you to do. Pick one pillar, just one, the one that resonates most with you right now, and take one small action this week, today, if possible. And then, come back here and tell us about it in the comments. Share your progress. Ask for advice. Encourage others who are on the same journey. Because here's the beautiful truth. You're not alone in this. There are thousands of people watching this video who are exactly where you are, ready to build a better second half of life. Thank you for spending this time with us today. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe for more content about living your best life after 60, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a video. I believe in you. I believe in your strength, your wisdom, and your potential. Now go out there and build something beautiful. And remember, comment below with which pillar you're going to work on first. I read every comment, and your commitment helps inspire others to take action too. Your second act is just beginning. Make it count.